Good afternoon, everybody. It's Mike here with Tekie Geek, your president geek. Just here, wanted to come on live and answer that age-old question. Let me pull up the banner. Domain names. Who should own them and who should control them? So first off, I just want to let you know, yes, it is awfully cold here in the Tekie Geek office. So thank you, Bernie, for joining us today. He's going to be with us for this conversation, and he might throw in some ideas here and there, but it's awfully chilly in here. All right, so domain names. Who should own them and who should control them? So first off, let's start out on what exactly is a domain name. A domain name is the address you put into a web browser, tekiegeek.com, google.com. That is what is known as a domain name. You purchase and register these domain names from a registrar. That registrar being one of the examples of that would be a GoDaddy, a Network Solutions, a Google Domains now sells them. So a lot of times a web developer, maybe an IT company will try to register that domain for you and actually own that domain. You should absolutely never allow that. You should own your own domain name. That should be purchased. Yes, Frank, Bernie will be providing advice. But you should purchase your own domain name, and that domain name should be owned under your account, whether it be a GoDaddy account. That's the register that we highly recommend would be GoDaddy. Within GoDaddy, you are able to then go ahead and set up delegated access. That delegated access could then be provided to either your IT provider or your web developer. So why is this important, you ask? Well, domain ownership is who owns that domain name. Let's imagine you have someone build your website and they purchase the domain name that your website, your email, everything is running on. And you have a falling out and they no longer want to answer you. Guess what? You don't own the domain name. They do. They could legally let that domain name expire, put whatever website they want at that domain name. The person who owns that through the registrar is the rightful owner of that domain name. So it's very hard to prove ownership to get that. So it's really important that you do this right from the beginning. Your domain name should be owned by the business. It should not be owned by a web developer and IT company. This should be a business asset, no different than any other asset that the business owns. So go ahead. We again recommend GoDaddy. Now, another part of a domain name is DNS, and how should we control DNS? What DNS is that's where records are kept that how is traffic routed. So let me give you an example. I'm actually going to pull up my screen, and I have here Cloudflare. Cloudflare is who we highly recommend for DNS management. Our clients, we will set up with the Cloudflare account. They have a free account. Then we're able to assign, again, permissions. And what this DNS does is this is how addresses are translated to where they should go. So one example of that being email. When you send an email to tekiegeek.com, what the email does behind the scenes is it does what's known as a mail exchange lookup. How do I know where this mail gets routed? So tekiegeek.com.us.emailservice.io. It hits our front edge of our email protection suite. Well, that's controlled in DNS. What I see happening all the time is a company is getting a new website developed. And the web developer goes, oh, right, no problem. Just give us access to your registrar. We're going to point the name service to your new website. Don't do that. How many times can I tell you I've seen web developers do the switch, and all of a sudden the client now starts saying, hey, we're not getting emails. Well, because they didn't set up the domain records to be properly. So that goes to the question, who should control your DNS records for your company? DNS records are truly an IT infrastructure piece. Your IT provider should be helping to control those DNS records to make sure that changes are not being made to that DNS that's going to break your infrastructure, let it be internal email, other solutions you might have, camera access, remote tools. DNS should be living with your IT provider. Again, we recommend Cloudflare. Lets you set up an account, control it, and give access and delegated access out to those needing. A web developer, honestly does not need access into your DNS. As long as you have an IT provider you can work with, an IT provider and your web developers should work in unison. And whenever there is DNS changes that are needed to be made, the web developer could send that information over. A ticket can be created, and the IT provider should be the one to make those A records, C name records. These are all different types of DNS records. You should own it. You should allow your IT provider to control it. Do not give that ownership out to an IT provider. Do not give that ownership out to a web developer. You should own your domain name, and that control should be controlled under your IT provider, as that has to do with your infrastructure. So let's do a quick little thing if you don't know what Cloudflare is. So Cloudflare has security. Well, part of that security is an SSL certificate and randomization. Well, Cloudflare came up with this really cool way that when you first walk into their office, they have lava lamps. They consider there is nothing more random in life than lava lamps. They have a computer, a video camera that watches these lava lamps, and based on what's happening to the lava lamps, let it be color, shapes, comes up with the number, completely random number. So they use lava lamps to basically protect us from hackers. So it's pretty crazy. They use these groovy hardware to help guard the internet. I will actually drop this link into the comments. It is a really cool article if you want to read it on how they are using lava lamps to protect the internet. Cloudflare is a great solution. You could also pay for Cloudflare and get additional things on your website, such as caching, ability to speed it up. So I just wanted to come on live today quickly through the cold, trying to survive. You're okay back there? He's good. He's got mittens. I don't have mittens. Apparently, I got to move to Vermont, and then I'll get some mittens. But domain names, the business should hold that as an asset. You should own that domain name. That should be registered under your account, delegated access out to your provider when needed. We highly recommend GoDaddy as the registrar. And then when it comes to DNS, again, the IT provider should have control of it, not own it. And we highly recommend Cloudflare for DNS solutions. Again, not sharing access when possible, using delegated access. That's why I really like GoDaddy. I like Cloudflare. You have the ability to create a delegated account, give them access to it without sharing your username and password with the provider. You never want to go sour with the provider and be locked. And ultimately, you could lose your domain name if you don't do this the right way. So that's why we were here today quickly. Thank you very much for watching. It's a techie tip. And if you have any questions that you'd like us to cover in a future techie tip, drop them in the comment, shoot us a private message, whatever's easier for you. We're here. So thank you. Remember, Techie Geek, we are the superheroes of IT, and we are here to help protect you and your business. Thank you for watching.